Hello, welcome to another episode of Quote the Warrior. I am Anthony, the Warrior Argyros, NAGA Grappler of the Decade, 2000 2009, Carlos Catania, Brazilian Jiu Jitsu Black Belt, and also winner of over 100 titles, Speaker of the Truth. So, what we're going to go over this episode is I just want to talk about staying within the framework of the rules. All right. Now, I understand that violence has been part of society since the first two people disagreed on something, got into a scuffle, wrestled, fought, threw a few punches, whatever they did to each other. I understand that, but I'm still a believer that there's a way for the world would be less violent overall if people were willing to understand there's a place for it, but it's as long as it's done within the confine of the rules. For example, you're in the United States, okay? Whistle to whistle in football, do what you got to do. Hit the guy, smash the holy hell out of him, as long as it's within the rules. You're in a boxing match, you can punch from the waist up with gloves on, with your fists, during the 3 minute round or 2 minute round, or whatever event you're in. Not after the bell, not below the belt. You got to stay within the confines of the rules. Wrestling, mixed martial arts, rugby, you name it, basketball, hockey. It's within the confine of the rules. You don't hit somebody when they're not looking with a stick to the back of the head, but hockey enforcers often drop the gloves, they look right at each other and say, "You want to?" And then they go. So basically, to me, seeing all the illegal violence is really sickening. I think there's a way to taper it down and eventually get rid of a majority of it. I think if more people acquiesced and played sports where there was some violence attached to it, and they caught an elbow to the mouth going for a rebound in basketball, or they got someone dropped the hockey gloves to him and said, "You want to? Hey, you want to fight? Hey, a guy just dropped his gloves and he asked you politely, "Hey, you want to?" Nothing personal, but we're going to fight. Or you're in a boxing match, an MMA fight, a taekwondo tournament, kick each other in the head within the time limit allowed, within the confine of the rules. Slam the kid in judo or wrestling as long as it's within the rules. That's the key. Can people stay within the rules? Because I've noticed you don't see a whole lot of athletes that take part in controlled violence, agreed upon consensual violence. You don't see a lot of them just walking around hitting someone for the sake of hitting them, or arguing with someone of a different skin color or political group in a 7-Eleven, and then it comes to fists. You just don't see that. You don't see a professional boxer. Very rarely would you see a top professional boxer, an amateur boxer. Someone just threw 1,000 punches that day in the gym or just had a match that night. You're not going to see them just walking around hitting someone because they don't agree with them. I mean, it's rare, very rare. Again, so to me, a lot of it comes down to that old expression, no injury comes to he who consent. So again, there's a place for violence. I understand it, but I believe it should be within the confine of the rules. I don't. Sooner or later, all these riots, buildings being burned down. Another game that originated like 7-8 years ago, I believe in Jersey City, New Jersey, called Knockout, where kids are wearing hoodies and sucker punching senior citizens or women crossing the street. There just has to be a way for that kind of stuff to stop. So I'm a believer that as long as the violence is done within the rules, that's an acceptable place for it at least. The people don't have to be spilling out into the streets fighting. Let them fight in the arena like the gladiator days, You don't need everyone running around thinking they're an MMA fighter on a basketball court over a disagreement. And you got bare knuckle fighting going on and hands are being broken. People are getting really hurt because there's no referee to stop it. There's no rules there. If people would understand to just save your fighting within the rules, fight another person who consents to fight, we'd be a much safer society. But again, that's up to the people, that's up to us, it's up to every individual, and that's including me. I'm just a believer that there is a place for violence, but it should be done within rules in a sports setting. And the people that do the violence, they should be consenting to it. Otherwise, to me, it's not a fair fight, and it's a useless fight that nobody will win, but there will be losers. Okay, so stay tuned for our next episode. I'll be covering all kinds of topics, and this week I hope you enjoyed this episode. Make sure to hit that subscribe button so you remain informed, and a lot more good stuff's coming up. Remember, quote the warrior, nevermore.